You guys can continue to underwrite this and pencil this out, but while you're over penciling, you're going to lose this to someone else. So there is a different sense of urgency. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing is people like you and I that are looking for that generational wealth opportunity for our children, our families. This is our moment. That's what I'm seeing.
Welcome back to another episode of Confronting the Impossible. I have the wonderful, beautiful, and very, very strategic commercial broker in New York City, part of Serhant, Bernadette. How are you? How are you today?
I'm doing great, Leo. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast. I thought it would be a change of perspective today, being at the Real Deal and all.
Tell me
about your experience thus far.
I am the master of ceremonies here for the Real Deal.
That's very amazing. That's very amazing.
It's been super exciting. Yeah. We were doing all the interviews from the green room and then for the breakfast for Owning Manhattan. Since my boss is Ryan, I was able to interview the cast. And then we got some quick moments with Floyd Mayweather, Mayor Adams, who I think you're friends with.
Yes. He's a good friend.
All your friends here. And then we're also listing 5 East 59th Street with Avi & Co. So that's
congratulations.
Been super fun.
He's also my jeweler. He's a wonderful guy. We're from the community together, and I have a tremendous amount of respect to him. Avi's a great guy. Shout out to Avi Ayev. But let's talk about the market, okay? You're the commercial head, as I understand, at Serhant, and there's a lot of rumbling going on in commercial real estate today. I know you and I are working together, and we're getting to know each other's perspectives in the market. Obviously, I work in distress. So we're stitching people up. We're stitching up commercial properties. But what have you been seeing and what have you been working on? Tell us about it.
I've been working on, like you, there are a lot of distress. We have a similar listing together for a client. And stuff that I love that you are doing, which I think is also my specialty, is just having those hard conversations.
Yeah.
So we had a call with one of our owners earlier this week, and Catherine, my operations manager, said, "You're the only one asking the hard questions." And I'm like, well, we need to know if you're going to be defaulting, how to save you. We need to know if you're going to be coming short, what that's going to look like. Don't try to be the hero here, and then I'm going to have to be dealing with the bank. So why don't you just be honest and transparent? So really this year for me has been about, because I do have so much experience, right post-COVID, one of our clients together was like patient number one on these defaults, right? So I feel like now what I'm leading with is, when is your loan maturing? Let's be honest about that. And let me help you not default, and let's sell this and transact.
And that's amazing that you say that. The reason I have you on this podcast is for one very simple reason. All the commercial brokers, all of them that I speak to in your field, they don't get it. They're like, why should I ask about that? We're going to sell for the best and highest price. Well, here's some news for you, okay? It doesn't necessarily matter what the highest price is. It matters what the highest price is in agreeing with the lender and the borrower, what the lender's willing to let the borrower off for. Because a lot of the borrowers have personal guarantees.
Yes.
They have restrictions on their deeds from mezzanine lenders, right? And a broker, a power broker that understands that, can get the job done. So hooray for you. Kudos for you for understanding.
Thank you.
And having those tough conversations.
I think it doesn't help anybody when you lead with ego and you let these, bigger investors just kind of let them think that you don't know better, because it doesn't really help anyone, right?
That's correct. And I'll put some of them on blast. JLL, Newmark, they're on the other side selling notes right now, and they're selling them for a discount, and they're telling their clients on the other side, "Oh, we'll get you the best possible price. We'll get you the best possible price." But when they know that they're selling the notes, not of those investors or those clients, but generally understanding the market is in the shitter, they're in a tank. And let me ask you another question. Speaking on that, is the market recovering? Is it at the bottom? Where do you see it?
In my opinion, it is feeling like it was at the bottom and heading up.
Interesting. Do you have a specific event or a trigger, or is it just a feeling of your activity that's occurring?
It's definitely stems from the feeling of my activity. We put a few listings on market last week that quite honestly I was thinking was going to have a hard time transacting. We've had 4 offers on something that's not income producing in under a week. So, but I think the mentality of the investor is still that they could really haggle and it's at the bottom. And the conversations I'm actually having this last week and 2 weeks, 3 weeks almost now, is you guys can continue to underwrite this and pencil this out, but while you're over penciling, you're going to lose this to someone else. So there is a different sense of urgency. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing is people like you and I that are looking for that generational wealth opportunity
Right.
for our children, our families. This is our moment. That's what I'm seeing.
So is this the seller's perspective or the buyer's perspective that you're looking at?
No, the seller still hopes that they're going to be getting prices pre-COVID.
Yeah, but don't you have those conversations with them?
Yeah, you have to. My conversation, and I'm also known for the tough calls.
I want to hear like a story with like an actual discussion you had with the seller or a buyer. I don't care if you have epithets or curse. I want to know the real story.
Okay,
And
so
I'll tell you one.
One of our clients hasn't wanted to put this listing on market because they don't want to list it for something that they feel is less than its value.
Can you tell us what the value is? Is it 10 million, 5 million, 20 million, 30
We're in
million?
somewhere around 40 million as its value.
It's a commercial property.
Correct. The client would like to go on somewhere around 60 million. So then as a broker, what do? So the two things that I say is we can either list it for what it's going to trade for, like at 548 West 22nd Street, where I told ownership, this is where we should list it. This is our bracket. And, they were basically almost threw me out of the office in front of Ryan. Like, she doesn't believe in this building.
Right.
And then we wound up on market for a year. And it wasn't until we did our second or third price reduction to 58 million, which is exactly, I told them somewhere between 50 and 60 is where we should go on. We traded at 50.5, but it wasn't until we dropped it to 58 million that we actually wound up getting multiple offers and a bidding war.
How long was that?
A year.
Wow.
A full year.
And they're not thinking about interest, payments, taking out their equity investment. They don't care about that.
When the client like this, has so many other assets, there's sometimes different reasons why they want to go on market at different times for stuff. And it doesn't really matter if it's not generating income. Sometimes for them, it's more of an ego play. But that's one. And then the current one I'm in right now, which is we're negotiating, they want it to be listed at 60. I think it should be listed at 40. The conversation is like this. We're Serhant, so we're known for getting a premium and putting top prices on stuff. I'm fine with that. Just be fine with me calling you a few times for price reductions. And so then once you shift that with them, you're like, do you want to sit here and do price reductions and test the market friendly for 6 months? Or do we want to bring this to market now and then actually be able to have conversations about it transacting?
So it's ambition, aspiration. What is it? What the fuck do they want?
It's that, and don't forget, it's also ego. Because some of our clients are, they're some of the most known names in the business. You deal with them, I deal with them. Our clients are famous real estate investors. They don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want to be seen as doing a bad deal. They don't want to be seen as being known as someone who's defaulting. And also, some of my clients are defaulting on other properties, and we don't even talk about it. So it's like...
And you should call Jacobs PC for those.
You guys know that you are always my go-to.
I appreciate that. So let me tell you a story about ego. What I do is I call it appraise your greed. All right? That's what it is. It's appraising your greed. Because I think it does stem about ego, but it also stems from the responsibilities that these investors have taken on 5, 10, 15, 20 years, okay, that they've held up when everything was great. I have a client that can't afford to pay his wife's bill anymore, his ex-wife's bill anymore, his son's bill. Everybody was sitting on his back. And when everything was coming down and he wasn't able to pay the premiums anymore, he found out the cost and the value of his relationships. And that went straight to the appraisal of his greed about what he wanted to sell a building that was used to be worth, $250 million. Today it's worth 45 fucking million. After putting in 150 million of equity. Would you look at that? So yes, it is true. Ego destroys, greed destroys. It's funny how the elements of emotion have a directional output on real estate. You
Yeah.
would think that real estate is just a pile of bricks, and the value of real estate is really attendant to a broker price opinion and an appraisal. But it's so much more than that. It's dynamic. The price is made up of emotions.
Yes.
And I think that would be, in this market, 85% of the decision-making power have nothing to do with my legal position
right.
or your ability to sell. What do you
Yeah.
think about that opinion?
I don't think it's wrong. And so I think you and I also have a similar value set with our clients where if you're able to have those tough conversations, you can actually break those walls down and come to a different pricing strategy. So like if you're able to have those hard conversations in the beginning, you peel back those layers in such an organic way. The truth is your client will respect you so much more.
But sometimes you're a little too late to the party, and I'm a little too late to the party.
That's true.
They've set in. And I've dealt with, I want to tell you a quick story. I've dealt with an owner of a property. It was $1 billion portfolio. And, you know, his brother died, the wife died, and now he's dealing with the estate issues. And it compounded the problems because now you have daughters and
Yeah.
sons that had nothing to do with the situation, now own the interest of this property,
Yes.
and now we're in litigation. I mean, talk about turning the value of something upside down.
Yeah.
You can't even appraise that emotional moment because it takes so much time, and that time has interest from a lender attached to it.
Correct.
So by the time you bridge that gap, you've been in this litigation for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So that's what the fuck I'm dealing with on a daily basis, Bernadette.
You know why I always work so good with attorneys, and I think you might know this, that my specialty is like the go-to person that most attorneys will pull out of their pocket. And it's because when you're litigating, there's only so many things that you can and cannot say, right? You can't cross party lines. You can't speak to the client, the other opposite counsel's client. So I always go in with the idea of being what I call a neutral third-party liaison.
Nice. I like that.
And so I always approach those situations. There's always, you know, a brother that's upset with the sister because she's, you know, overseas and he dealt with the estate or whatever it is, or she or him, whatever. So really for me, maintaining neutrality is where I think I win. That's when I always am able to do all the tenant buyouts for all the relocations for Rees. That's when I'm able to get siblings to come to a place because it's the only one that's really going to win is your firm at the end, right? So I work through those things with them for transactions to be able to take place.
And look, Bernadette, I think what you're great at when confronting the impossible is utilizing your emotional intelligence. And you have a lot of that. I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was wonderful to have you on.
Thank you.
To many, many more times.
Likewise. Have a great day, Leo.
Thank you, you too.